another farm vlog. Today I'm on my way to a new kind of farm. This is a new type of farm. For years I've been wanting to visit a farm animal sanctuary. Really just any animal sanctuary. I think it's kind of normal, kind of part of the vegan culture, the plant-based culture, to visit an animal sanctuary, and especially farm animals, because those are the animals that we really abuse when it comes to diet. That's why it's such a thing in the plant-based community, because of most people, if that's not their main reason, that's one of the reasons they make the choice to limit or stop eating animal foods. I've been wanting to visit a place like this for such a long time, partly because I kind of had a more regular job, and I also lived pretty far away, and also I just didn't know. Regular American, unless you actually live in a place where you got farms all around you, you come from a city, how do you even, what's even a farm? You guys seen in my past farm vlogs, the reason why I got into visiting farms is because of my mental health. I kind of had a rough time earlier this year. I made a plan for myself, basically recommitting myself to my mental health, and part of my plan was to spend more time in nature. And it's really hard, like I said, when you live in a city, where's the nature? It's very limited. This is a different vibe, this area. Such a different vibe. I don't know, you call this the Valley of the Dolls? Just kidding. Who read that book? Who saw that movie? I read the book and saw the movie. The book was better than the movie. Let me just tell you that. Sharon Tate, rest in peace. She was not a good actress, friends. That movie had horrible acting in it. Sorry. But the book was great. I remember when I was reading it, I would screenshot little passages, and the way one of the girls would talk about food, it was like so sexual. It was hilarious. She'd be talking about pancakes and butter and maple syrup, and she's like, it's gonna be an orgy. It was an orgy. And I'm like, girl, that's exactly how I feel. Finally, someone I can relate to. First thing that came up when I Googled local farms was a strawberry farm, Tanaka Farm, strawberry picking. And it kind of grew from there. Then I just thought of what kind of natural places have I always wanted to visit, what kind of farms. I went to the lavender farm. I always wanted to go to a lavender farm. Pretty soon I'm gonna do apple picking. Always wanted to go to an apple orchard. I was like, yeah, let's look up farm and animal sanctuaries. And there's two kind of well-known ones, relatively close. This is one of them. This one's called Farm Sanctuary. This is the first one I'm visiting. The next one I'm gonna visit next weekend, or I think in 2 weeks. But I'm so excited. And I looked at their website, and they offer cow therapy. Do you guys know what cow therapy is? It's basically where you hug a cow for an hour. And it said on there that they don't have any mental health professionals at the farm. It's just a volunteer basis. Disclaimer, to be honest, my experience with therapists, hugging a cow for an hour, going through what I've went through when it comes to mental health, therapists, the regular route, and knowing what I know now about what actually heals, I'll hug a cow for an hour. That'll be my therapy. I don't care. I really think that's going to be more effective, to be honest. I don't care. Wow, and you can see the clouds in the sky. It looks so cool right now. I'm looking at a painting. It's so cool. That's why I like going to a farm, because you drive through, get away from the city, you drive through the natural area. I'll hire a cow as my therapist. I don't freaking care. I'll do it. It is a little bit more pricey, $200 an hour, which honestly, some therapists, even though they cost less than that, they were, I'm going to say, a lot less effective. When I can afford it, I'm going to do my cow therapy. Speaking of, they also, like I said, it's run by volunteers. So I think it's this program or it's the other animal sanctuary. You can volunteer to help out on the animal sanctuary. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not sure when, because if I sign up now, they kind of commit you to 3 months. So if I sign up now, it's gonna be like fall to winter. Even though I live in Southern California, it's really not good to spend too much time outside when it's cold. And then plus, usually this time of year is when we tend to get more rain. I mean, we're in a freaking drought, but many of us are praying for rain all the time. So, I just don't want to be shoveling cow poop when it's muddy. You feel me? I might wait until next year. Springtime, it still rains. But then summer, it's hot, and then the cow poop, I don't know. It's just a thing. But I definitely plan on volunteering because I'd really like to get to know animals better. How I feel about animals is that they're like people. They have their own personality. This is why I don't say I'm a cat or a dog person, because it really depends on who you vibe with. Every cat, every dog is different. Just like every person. You're not gonna... I try to be nice to everyone, and in a perfect world, honestly, I really do think we're all friends. I really think we're all brothers and sisters. Whatever reason, it doesn't always work out that way. We're not always friends, but at least I try to have respect and human love for people, even if we're not friends or best friends or anything like that. But that's how I feel about animals. Some animals you're just going to connect with a lot more, and you guys become very close. And that's just how I feel about the animals, especially these are rescue animals from a farm. They need so much freaking love, man. It's a mutual benefit, because it's like you're giving them love, you're getting to know a different species, how they communicate, how they live, and also you're giving them the opportunity to see that not all humans are abusers. And they get to understand, not saying that they have the same consciousness or understanding capabilities, good energy exchange. And just as much as we go and we hug the cows and that's therapy for us, that's also therapy for them. Being through what they've been through. Oh my God. Poor things. I'm really excited about this. And I really do believe animals are our friends. Is the whole thing. And especially mammals. That's our cousin, man.
Typically kept in these very small cages called gestation crates. The pigs can't turn around and for basically their whole lives. But luckily, to see farm animals this big, because in the industry they're killed at just a fraction of their lifespan. They're usually killed when they're still babies. So to see them grow into adulthood is extremely rare. For 5 years old, once the milk production begins to decline. Now, Safi's awesome. He's the patriarch of the herd. He takes very good care of his bovine family. He's deeply committed to them. And he's also deeply committed to his human friends as well. He has a very close relationship with our shelter director. Her name is Jess. She's awesome. And she has known him since, he was a baby. And a few years ago, we had rescued a cow who had been very traumatized by humans. She did not do well with humans at all. Let me see if Harry is into a little bit of attention. And she did not do well with humans, this one cow. So our caregivers had to work in teams to make sure that they were always safe when we were in the pasture with her. Jess was in the pasture with them, and she could tell that this cow was getting upset, and she wanted her to leave the area. So she tried to find a way out as quickly as she could, but it wasn't fast enough. The upset cow started to charge her, which was very dangerous. But she instinctively yelled Saffron's name. Saffron came running over, put himself in between her and the upset cow, protected her from any danger until she was safe enough to leave the area. Yeah, so he's a really cool, intuitive, protective, loving guy, and we all really adore him. Now, if anyone wants to come around and meet Liberty, this is Liberty. So she was rescued a few years ago by Joaquin Phoenix the day after he won the Oscar for Best Actor. He made a beautiful, moving Oscar speech, and the next morning he went out with our Farm Sanctuary staff and rescued Liberty and her daughter Indigo from a slaughterhouse south of downtown LA in Pico Rivera. And he carried Indigo out in his arms because she was so teeny, and now she's enormous. And it's been really incredible to be able to see the bond that she has with her biological daughter, because so often it's really typical in animal agriculture for families to be ripped apart and not be able to form those bonds with each other. So when we're able to see those bonds grow here, it's a really magical thing. And for a few years she nursed. She's over here somewhere in the back over there. There's another black cow in the back. For a few years she nursed. She still tries sometimes, and the mom will push her away. He might not want any attention, to be honest. He's a little bit, yeah. He's getting so old and arthritic that when he's feeling a little stiff, he's swept a little bit. This is Honky Tonk. He's like one of our donkeys. You'll notice he has some skin issues, so he was actually living with a family as their companion, but they did not have proper accommodations for him. He had no shelter from the rain, so the rain would just dump on him, and when we got him, he had lots of skin infections and fungus growing on him and stuff. So he's in some ways still recovering. How long have you had it? Several years now. He's a super sweetie. Oh, Sappy. You can continue to hang out with Sappy too. Say hi to him.
Why do so many flies go around the ride?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're probably feeding off of the gunk and drinking it. I know, it's horrible. So they get fly treatments every week. They do, yeah. So you notice Honky Tonk, he has a fly mask on. We actually found a seller on Etsy who makes cow-sized fly masks, so we tried those out. They hated them, so we're still workshopping the fly situation. You guys are funny. Sometimes Honky Tonk, he likes to eat directly under where other people are eating. And he oftentimes, if you'll notice, is not even putting much in his mouth at all. I don't know why he does it. I think literally just to bother them. But he's funny. So while I have you guys down here, I want to tell you about the story of these two cows, her and her. So over a year ago, 40 cows escaped a slaughterhouse in Pico Rivera, California, a place called Manning Beef. The gate was left open, and this herd of cattle, they were running around this urban area, and again, it garnered a lot of attention because it's obviously very unusual. People were getting photos and videos and sending it to news stations. So I'm going to watch out for, he just turned around. Just back up just in case. Folks are rounding them all up to send them back to the slaughterhouse to be killed. But there was one cow right here who they could not capture for over 24 hours. She was so good at escaping. And when they finally did capture her, it was so dramatic, her being captured. Let's just give her a little space because she might be a little close in. Okay, cool. It was really dramatic. She was clearly running for her life. It was heartbreaking to see. So many people from all over the country rallied behind her release to sanctuary, so we were able to bring her here. And then a week later, we got a call that this other cow had been discovered. She had traveled 12 miles and had been living in a park. and had been concealing herself there for over a week. She'd been living in a bridge, like under a bridge in a park. So we were able to rescue her as well, and the two of them, we moved them in together to this back part of our property, and the two of them were able to recuperate there. And for months, like, our caregivers couldn't get like within, I don't know, 100 yards of them without them running away. But over time, they've really learned to trust humans again. They're not, still don't love to, get really close to people. Hey, buddy. But it's incredible to see them choose to be down here, because they could be all the way up in the back pasture away from all these strangers. But it's amazing to see how they have begun to really heal. Awesome. So we're going to be taking off here, and we're going to go all the way. Let's give June plenty of room, just because she is a little bit. Let's go around this way just to make sure she doesn't feel threatened by us. So as we walk around, you might notice that we only have land animals here at Park Sanctuary. Now I know it's a pie in the sky dream for a lot of farm animal rescue folks to be able to figure out a way to rescue aquatic life at a large scale at some point. And I would love for us to one day have the facilities to be able to rescue fish, because they need a lot of help. So fish are vibrant, complex beings. There's research that supports that they can do things. They develop cultural traditions that they pass down to different generations. They can recognize themselves in each other. There's mounting evidence that they can feel pain. Now, unfortunately, fish who are farmed face many of the same cruelties that all the overcrowded tanks and killed to pretty cruel habits. Now, even wild-caught fish present some alarming welfare and environmental concerns. For example, fisheries can no longer meet the demand of consumers by simply using a line and a pole to catch fish, right? They need to drag these enormous nets across the ocean to meet that consumer demand, but that they're inevitably going to catch bycatch. And those are different kinds of animals, different species of fish, dolphins, whales, sea turtles, seabirds, sharks, who they cannot sell, and then they'll have to throw these. The impacts of animal agriculture on the environment doesn't stop there, that they don't like being approached or pet from above. So the best way to hang out with our birds today is to crouch down and let them come to you. Now, almost none of the birds in here like to be pet, but almost all of them like to be fed. So we have some food in here that you can offer. So I do know that pecking order is like something that they need to go through. Now, whether or not like making each other bleed might be another thing, like another ballpark. But I do know that they do, like, they will need to pick on each other a little bit to develop food.
Was that one before?
We had a boy as well that he had to go.
You have to go.
Bullied everyone.
Oh my gosh, they're supposed to be like the peacekeeper.
Finished the tour. I learned so much. It was so awesome to be with those animals and to hear their stories. Like I said, it's just like a human's journey, what humans go through. I got some footage. Part of the reason why I didn't get more footage is because I didn't want the animals to feel, again, just like humans, that they were on display, like they were forced to be in a show. You feel me? Like they're a tourist attraction, which in a way, the farm opening up and letting people in, it's kind of that, but I just didn't want to make it like cameras in their face. Plus, from what I was learning, some of the animals, certain things, certain gestures can, especially going through their trauma, just like people, certain body language, certain behaviors, gestures can trigger some aggression or something like that. That's part of the reason. And also, I didn't really touch too many of the animals. I mean, definitely I want to. I want to cuddle them all, especially how cute they are. Also, I was going to say, if you guys can't really see too much of my background, but I did a photo shoot kind of in this area, the Red Rock Canyon kind of area. And it was called Dancers on the Rocks, Margaritas on the Rocks or something. Actually, I made a video behind the scenes of that. I'll link it down below, and I'll insert a few photos when I used to participate in the dance photography workshop, which I hope to get back into it, but I haven't even really been into dance that much since the pandemic and changing careers. but I hope to get back into it. I learned a lot. I feel like I'm still digesting what I learned, but some kind of standout things. It's a vegan organization, obviously, but it's like really vegan. Level of cult propaganda, brainwashing vegan. Obviously, where these animals come from, the tour guide was really just explaining where they came from. It's not, but there was some other things on top of that. Like I just saw, I wanted to film it or take a picture of it, but there was this poster on the wall that was like, basically how to transition to be vegan. It had no reference to actual food. It was just showing like, instead of butter, use vegan butter. Instead of cheese, eat vegan cheese. It was like, I mean, I get it. This is a farm of animals that were used more for food consumption. I get it, but it's not really healthy, you feel me? And kind of along those lines, it's really not any different. The mindset about the health of the animals is not really that different than the mindset of the health of people. What I mean by that, they were telling me some things that were, if that was me, I would feel extremely, it was just disturbing for me to hear. As someone who, see, if you can see behind me how these rock formations, the other thing is that the area where I did that photo shoot, that dance photo shoot, it was, I guess they used it to film a Star Wars movie or a few Star Wars movies. So if you guys are into Star Wars, you might look at the background and be like, oh yeah, that looks Star Wars-ish. Vasquez Rocks, that's where I went. They were telling me things like the cows, okay, I guess it's normal for the cows to have flies crowding their eyes because the flies eat the little discharge. I think that's the same dynamic when people say, well, it's normal for women to have period cramps. It's only normal because people are in such bad condition that pretty much everyone has an issue when they have their period. That doesn't mean it's normal as in that's what's supposed to happen. People get triggered when I say supposed to. They say, well, have you ever been through that? So you know that sometimes it happens. It's like, ugh, there's just so much. I'm not saying supposed to as in if you have pain, you're fucked up. And you don't know. No, it's like when you have an issue in your body, that is a sign to you, I need to change something. I need to self-reflect. I need to take care of this. Clearly, I'm not taking care of myself in the proper way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having this issue. And so that's what I kind of feel about animals. I mean, that is what I feel about the animals. So if the animal's having discharge in their eyes, why is the animal having discharge in their eyes? And then I was also looking at what they were feeding the animals. They were feeding them pellets, which, do we eat pellets? I guess the equivalency would be, let's just eat some packaged food, because that's processed. And I guess it should be no surprise because they have a poster about how you could just eat vegan butter and vegan meat and it's fine. It's a plant-based version of real food. I guess, and maybe it's more economical, I don't know. But I was just like, what the heck? Why are the animals eating freaking pellets? Do we eat pellets? Like I said, maybe equivalent would be like these vegans eating vegan Cheetos. I mean, they look like freaking pellets. So I guess I couldn't really expect much there. But then they were saying like, well, we give the cows an eye treatment every week. I'm like, imagine that's like a lifelong dropping eye drops in your eyes. Meanwhile, you never understand why is this animal having issues in their eyes. And then you're feeding them fucking pellets. And then the other thing, so some of the animals, listen, these animal sanctuaries, I understand, and I'm so on board with what they're doing, rescuing the animals from factory farming, to just be put in another pen. And I even asked one of the guys towards the end, because when I went on the tour, the girl was talking a lot, and I just wanted to hear her talk. I'm sure kind of like a script she's following to get out all the information she needs to, or that she wants to. So I just listened mostly. I think I asked her one question, 2 questions, right? they will run. And I get it, they came from a factory farm. They're probably like freaking chained to their area, sitting in their poop all day in a cage. But it's like, if they're just gonna be moved to a slightly bigger area, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think that the animals are unhappy. I think they're grateful. But it's kind of like how when someone goes to rehab or someone goes to a mental hospital, like, yeah, again, that's a whole other thing. It could be, but in a way, it could be, yeah, it's better than what they're used to. But for long term, the rest of your life, that's still kind of confined, and it's still creating another life where they don't have a say. And that's their whole thing. The guy kept saying, well, they don't have a say. Well, they don't have a say. Well, they didn't have a say for you to take them to the animal sanctuary. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad the animal sanctuary exists, and I'm glad they're in a better place. But is this still the best place for the animals? The lady said, when she was talking about the chickens, about how they were bred, I didn't know this. I thought they were injected with hormones. Maybe they are. But she said they're bred, the chickens, the hens, are bred to breed. Or they're bred to lay hundreds and hundreds of eggs, which is overtaxing on their body. Obviously, that's like if females humans were bred to have a million babies. Especially back in the day, women could have many babies, but at some point, that's really depleting on your body. And especially as you age, with chickens, they just kill them. She said their privates would fall out of their body, will become prolapsed, which obviously that's horrible. But at the same time, then she's like, oh, to fix that problem, we give them birth control. I was just like, what? That's like, if you guys follow, I think her name is Dr. Jolene. I'll link her Instagram down below. She talks about that a lot. Pretty much any issue a woman has when it comes to her reproductive health, the answer is just go on birth control. I went on birth control because of my skin, because I had horrible acne. Tried different things, and I heard that if you went on birth control, it could stop your acne. It really didn't. But then I had to stay on birth control because then I went on Accutane. But birth control really isn't answer for any health condition. It really isn't. All what it does is stops your period. Meanwhile, your period, which normally is a regular way to discharge for women, and actually it's a gift, and that's a whole other video. It's a gift for women to be able to discharge every month. Meanwhile, it's just building up. Look into the effects of birth control, what that does. I didn't even talk about the mental health issues. When you take women who take birth control, I forget what the percentage is. My mind wants to say 300% more likely to have suicidal thoughts. Wait, so why are we prescribing women all this birth control? Now, just think about the chickens. They went through this lifetime of pain with their reproductive organs. I need to think about this more because to me, I'm thinking the animals as humans, and how I treat myself, that's how I would expect a place of love and care for the animals. That's how they would be treated. And I know they're thinking they're doing great by the animals. In a way they are, but by thinking that, see, because they're thinking of themselves, that's how they think of well, let me just eat this packaged vegan food and it's cool. Well, let me just take this medication for my hormonal issue and it's cool. They're not really there. I even asked them. I asked about the vets, if they have a vet on staff, or the vet comes once in a while. I asked about that, and then I asked the methods that the vet uses. Is it just like regular? I don't know what to call it. Western veterinary science? Probably. I don't know. Or is it more holistic? And the guy was like, oh, well, it's kind of like a mixture, and he was telling me some examples. But I don't know. I feel like there's it exists. And a lot of people might be thinking if you guys don't really know where I'm coming from, well, how else are they gonna, just the same stuff that I get when I talk about when it comes to human. And how else are they gonna get better? There's ways, friends. Once again, just like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a vet, but yet I have helped both people and animals without medication, with food, with energy healing, with natural ways. It's really not that different, an animal and a human. And just to look at how they proceed with veterinary medicine, they still prescribe pills. They prescribe the same pills to animals as they do to people. They do surgery. It's really the same. And of course, their anatomy is different. Some animals have 5 stomachs. Treating these animals in the same way is better. So it's kind of hard. It's a hard place. It's hard. Because it's like, who am I? Have I ever lived on a farm? No. Have I ever dealt with farm animals? No. But I just know that personal feeling is that this is not the best for the animals. It's better, it's not the best. Just like being vegan, it's better in a way. It's not the best. I don't think I finished talking about how when I asked, do the birds ever get to run free, the guy got kind of defensive. Well, I think that's a pretty big space. But do you know the nature of chickens? Do you know the natures of chickens, bro? Do you know the nature of them? They like to run free. And honestly, I feel like all those animals, they need more space. Look, friends, those animals, some of them are bigger than us. Would you be fine? All what you had to live was that enclosed space? Yeah, it's probably better than what they're used to, but that still doesn't mean it's the best for the animal. And I know, okay, well, I don't really know everything about that organization. It's probably a non-profit. So they probably don't have much money. Yeah, maybe that's all they can afford is these smaller enclosures. It just made me feel different about wanting to volunteer there. Because if it's going to be all crazy vegans. Because I did ask him, I was like, because I got that vibe, like I told you, like it was like propaganda-ish, cultish, about being vegan. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely could not vibe here. I mean, listen, friends, I want to get to that point. I'm trying to get to that point. But I feel like where I'm at right now, being surrounded by crazy vegans will only feed the negative stereotype in my head about vegans. And honestly, I don't really despite me talking about it, I don't like talking bad about anybody. Is it talking bad when you're really saying the truth? It sounds bad. I asked him, I said, so is everyone that works here vegan? And he's like, yeah, well, I mean, you kind of have to. I'm like, I don't know about that. Because look, I'm going to be honest, the girl that was doing the tour, she was nice, she was knowledgeable, she was cool from what I experienced in my hour with her. But she was not in the best condition. A lot of them were. So it's kind of beyond being vegan. You just don't need animals, but that doesn't mean you're healthy. That doesn't mean you're in a great condition. That doesn't mean... It's kind of weird. It's so weird because it's kind of like when people are educated. When you're vegan, in your mind, you're open-minded because you changed your way of eating. You probably learned a lot. You changed, so in a vegan's mind, they think, well, I'm the epitome of open-mindedness because I used to be like that and now I'm like this. But then they get so one track. Well, if you hurt the animal, it's bad. Well, if you hurt the animal, it's bad. Well, if you hurt the animal, it's bad. That's all you care about. You don't see, like, girl, your face has... You're clearly not healthy. I was going to say, you have acne on your face. That's a sign that you're pushing out stuff that is not supposed to be there. Maybe that freaking vegan butter. I don't know. What else are you eating? Sugar, probably. Processed foods. Foods not meant for your condition. I remember one of my friends from college, she reached out to me. This was Instagram. It was the same exact name. I deleted it, and then I took a break for 9 months, and then I came back on Instagram and with the same name. But anyway, on my old Instagram, my friend from college, she was vegan. I think she was even vegan like in college. But she messaged me when she saw that I was eating more plant-based, and she's like, so I've been vegan for blah 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 X amount of years, and I thought it would clear up my skin, but my skin is worse than ever. And at the time, I was a macrobiotic for maybe not that long, a year or two maybe. And of course, I wanted to get all into it, but I thought to myself, because this is how I think. When people ask me questions on the internet, what I have to tell you is worth hundreds of dollars. A macrobiotic consultation, the least amount you'll pay is $250, and it goes up to $1,000. This is how valuable this information is. And it's like, on one level, I feel like this information everyone should know, but on another level, I have things I want to do with money. Like, you know what I mean? I can't just be telling everyone, because then also people also don't take it seriously. In a way, I couldn't really tell her because of that. And then also, but in another way, I didn't know that much. So I could have told her a few things, but I really don't know where she's coming from exactly. What is she eating? What is she doing now? But clearly she's not doing something right as a vegan, because otherwise why is she having that issue? And she told me, she's like, yeah, I really don't want to have acne when I get married, you know, because it's a big day, a lot of photographs and everything. I freaking understand. And she's like, I really don't want to go on Accutane, because I was also talking about how Accutane was fucked up. Having acne is not a good sign. If you're vegan and you still have acne, you're not doing something right. I don't get why vegans are so aggressive about how this is. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Christianity. No, you gotta accept Jesus as your personal savior, otherwise you're going to hell. Really? Okay. You are in a bubble. That's what I was saying. Vegans think that they're so open-minded. When people go to college, this is something I've kind of gotten into. I mentioned it before. Sometimes when you go to college, you are indoctrinated, and that's why I'm a lot more careful about who I learn from. Because if I see that I can't even question my teacher, that if I question my teacher, they're gonna make me feel like shit, I know I'm not really learning. I know I'm just being indoctrinated. A good teacher allows you to ask questions, and if they don't have an answer for you, either they tell you or they encourage you to look for that answer. A good teacher will always encourage you to learn more on your own, instead of just like, okay, guru, tell me what this is. Okay, you know, like, it's like being controlled by a source of knowledge. No, I want the world is my teacher. I'm gonna learn from everything, everyone. To me, that's if the infinite world is your teacher, you're gonna have infinite knowledge, and it's gonna be unique. Whereas people that just think, oh, well, only my teacher, well, only my doctor, well, only my whatever spiritual figure. Your knowledge is very limited. And what if they're freaking brainwashing you? I would love to spend time with those animals, but if I'm going to be surrounded by propaganda, I don't think we'll see with the next farm. But I did learn a lot, especially about petting zoos. I mean, in some of these farms that I go to, the organic farms, they do have petting zoos, which I probably should ask them about those animals, because I feel kind of funny about that too. They have this tiny space, that's all they have. And then also, what happens to those petting zoo animals, once their time is up or whatever, they just continue their life as they would in a regular factory farm, end up being slaughtered as well. Which is like kind of, it's just weird because the animal sanctuary, they're like, well, you know, we rescue the animals. I mean, I guess it's really just about, I guess it really is just like, you know, like a women's shelter or something like that. But it's like, where are the animals going to go after that? So they're just at the sanctuary forever? I mean, I guess that's better. But it's like, I don't know. Tom has this really good, I think, a really cool thinking about animals. And he's like, why would you even keep an animal as a pet? And I know everyone watching this is going to gasp, clutch their pearls, have a heart attack. But it's like, it's kind of the same thing. Like the guy that I was talking to today, he's like, because we were talking about, I was asking him about horses and like the people that ride horses, if they ever get those animals in there as rescues. And he's like, well, if they're kept as pets, you know, we're talking a lot about it. It's like, if they're more like a pet or a companion, but it's like the horse didn't really choose that. And I'm thinking like, do you have a dog at home? Do you have a cat at home? The animal didn't choose to be your, you know? Like, it's kind of the same thing. Why are you just... That's the other thing, you see? Vegans have their little fucked up speciesism as well. It's like, why don't you have a sanctuary for dogs and cats? And they might roll their eyes and be like, it's not the same. Yeah, because we domesticated those animals. That's why it's not the same. It's kind of like people. Like, we can say, like, Native Americans. Well, what happened to their culture? What happened to their language? Because we, white people, or just society, have done nothing to help them, or have contributed to their loss of their regular life, of their original indigenous life, of their connection to the land. So then that's okay then? I don't know, there's just so many more questions to be raised. And I feel like vegans just want to feel morally superior. It's kind of a hard thing. Kind of a hard thing to navigate. It's like they just want to feel morally superior. Maybe they do care about the animals, which is beautiful. But it's like, also, why can't you be open to questions beyond your narrative? What Tom thinks about animals like pets, he's like, the animal didn't ask to be a pet. He thinks like by letting the animal, like not having a pet, you're like not controlling the animal's fate. You're not controlling the animal's life. And that's really what that guy was rapping about at the farm sanctuary. He was saying like, well, you know, the animals didn't choose that. It's like the animals also didn't choose for you to put them in a freaking sweater and for you to give them antidepressants and to live in a tiny apartment. Like, you know, I feel like that's more vegan than the vegans to have that mentality. As much as I freaking love, listen, when given the opportunity, I want like 10 dogs, 10 little chihuahuas, 10 little Pomeranians, like Paris Hilton. I want like that many tiny little freaking dogs. I love them. I love funny little cute cats. But it's like, in a way, is that, I feel like it is. I feel like it is making choices for the animal. That being said, I really feel like you guys should visit your local farm sanctuary and any animal sanctuary. Look up the conditions that animals live in for food. I already knew this, but I learned more specifically how marketing for animal food tricks us into thinking it's better for the animal. And even though I rarely eat animal food, I still, because of where I come from with EDs and restriction in diet and feeling morally one way or another depending on what I ate, I feel like, and because when you think that way for yourself, you also, anything you think for yourself about yourself, it's already in there it's possible for you to think that about other people, and for you to judge someone based on what they eat or don't eat, that is a little bit fucked up, because we're all humans. And everyone deserves love on this earth. All creatures deserve love. We do understand that there's better ways to consume animal food. But do I agree with all of it? No, I don't even agree with it. You guys just look at my stuff. I talk about grass-fed meat and all that bullshit. I don't think anyone should be eating beef. And for your ultimate health, mental, physical, spiritual, I really don't think you should eat a cow. I really don't think you should ever eat dairy, ever. Raw milk, no. But there's certain animal foods that, when consumed in a better way, could be better for you once in a while. Look into all that stuff. Look into, where do you get your eggs? Are they factory farmed? If it's not factory farmed, is it cage free? And look into, what does cage free mean? Is it really cage free? What does organic mean when it comes to your chicken or your eggs or whatever? Look into, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of the marketing isn't even real, or it's not telling the whole story. So something that I learned, I occasionally, on a great occasion, I eat wild caught fish. Mostly, honestly, just white fish, really. I was never a big seafood person anyway, but just learning about macrobiotics, dynamics of energy, understanding my constitution, where I come from, my condition, what I'm going through now, what might be helpful for me, what makes me feel better. Yeah, once in a great while, I eat a little bit of wild caught white fish. And I think that is an example of when animal food might be okay to eat. But I learned today, even wild caught. So what wild caught means basically is a fisher went fishing and they caught a fish, is wild caught. It's not versus farmed fish, which is basically more controlled and basically like factory farming, but with fish. The demand, I learned, is so high now for wild caught fish that it's impossible to keep up with the demand, the consumer demand, by wild caught fishing methods. Like, it's impossible to keep up. So they have to cast a net, and when they cast a net to catch these fish, they're also trapping in other sea life, like dolphins and other creatures which we don't necessarily eat, which basically a death unnecessary in the name of a better quality of fish. So it's like, you really gotta look into this stuff, and I would encourage you guys to do that.
This beautiful creature must die, a death for no reason, and death for no reason is murder. And the flesh you so fancifully fry is not succulent, tasty or